Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Peter Jennings, and I go by CSURAM88 across the daily fantasy industry. And pumped to be back again here at Fantasy Labs doing another model preview. I chose to preview the quarterback position this week, and I think there are a lot of interesting options, especially in tournaments. And I made a tournament model that backtests really well, that highlights some really cool things, I think, about the models here at Fantasy Labs. So let's dive right into it. Looking over here at the model, I have bargain rating at 0, so I didn't weight that. I do think that's an applicable stat, though, and something that I look at in cash games, especially when thinking about how to hedge across the different slates and the different sites. I have Vegas score at 5 points, so I'm always putting this a little bit into the model. I use Vegas metrics a lot more in other sports. I certainly consider the team totals and a lot of things with NFL a great deal, but other sports I might weight this slider a little bit more. I have the opponent rating at 15, and this is something that I'm playing with even a bit more now. I've weighted this as high as 30 points in some of my models, definitely trying to take guys in really good matchups, and this is a really cool slider that we have here at Fantasy Labs that leverages our plus-minus stat that's proprietary, and I think it's really predictive. So we're basically halfway through the season, and we're getting a lot more data on these teams and where they're weak and where you can exploit them and where they're strong, where you don't want to attack certain teams. So I think this is something that's really helpful and certainly something that is predictive here at Fantasy Labs. Projected points per dollar at 30, and we have the projections right here. I also, you'll see here in a second, have projected ceiling, and these will get changed throughout the week. I'm recording this here on Wednesday morning, and the projections and the ceiling projections will change, and that's based on news and different things that come in. So that's one thing I think that's really valuable, is always seeing these projections change based on what's going on. So I like this quite a bit in terms of what it spits out, and obviously we're trying to get as efficient as possible with the projections. Projected plus minus. So this is a stat that I really think is going to get. I think this is one of the most predictive things here. Basically, when you're looking at what Fantasy Labs does and what we're trying to do, we're trying to figure out the guys who are in the best spot with their salary. And one thing that's tough about projections in DFS in general is there's a pretty narrow band of projections, and oftentimes it really just comes down to the salary. So I think this is a great way to kind of mix them together to come up with this rating system, and I really like what it's spitting out. So I always have this weighted heavily. If you've watched these videos in the past, you know projection points per dollar, projected plus minus, and opponent rating are always the meat of my model, and in this specific one, they're 75%. So it's something I'm using pretty much every single week here. And then specifically for this, I went with 10 points at projected ceiling, which you'll see here, and this is a really cool stat. Basically, the projected point total of player is expected to surpass with 15% probability, and we do a lot of stuff here with volatility to see how often players are going to hit this really big ceiling, which is obviously critical in tournaments, and certainly something I'm looking at quite a bit. And then I have pro trends rating at 5 points, and I have upside at 5. You can see here, this is another thing that I often like to do, is just look at the quarterbacks who have the most pro trend ratings. So you can see this week, Derek Carr, Russell Wilson, Andrew Luck have the most. And then there's five or six guys here with 5 pro trends. So I'm looking at that quite a bit, and that's something else that you can leverage here at Fantasy Labs is the trends tool. I really think that there's a lot of interesting plays this week. One other thing that I do like to look at just when I'm on the models here is the ownership. We have Jameis Winston as the highest projected quarterback this week, and I'm going to talk about here in a second. So this is another thing that Adam Levitan is doing, and we have other guys looking at the ownership as well, and we're trying to project how owned they're going to be across the industry, which is obviously really valuable in tournaments. So let's take a look at what it spit out in terms of the rating, and again, you can sort all these columns by different things, but I like to look at it by rating. And the number one quarterback is Jameis Winston, and at this point in time in the week, I absolutely love Jameis. I think he's going to be a cornerstone for a lot of players in their cash games. Certainly think he makes sense in tournaments. He will be chalky, and his pass catcher, Mike Evans, will also be chalky on DraftKings. So I do like him a lot, and he's in a great spot. Bortles certainly disappointed everyone who tried to attack Oakland where Oakland was on the road. Here you go again, Tampa Bay at home. I really hope that Jameis comes through in this spot. Next, we have Matt Ryan, who's one of my favorite quarterbacks this week. And one thing this model really emphasizes is his ceiling. Obviously, he's coming off some really big games this year. In particular, obviously, he went absolutely off against Carolina for 39.5 points, throwing for 500 yards. Had 4 touchdowns. Julio Jones made up the majority of that. I think in this spot with Sam Shields now on the IR, I expect a lot of points, and so does Vegas. So I think Matt Ryan makes a fantastic play. Here we go with Alex Smith again. I've had to be an Alex Smith apologist. Looked like he might get it going last game. Ended up with a marginal game, but I just can't buy him enough. I know the price is cheap, but this is one where if I was building a lot of lineups, I'd actually take him out. And if I was on a different page, I could show you guys that. But I do think Alex Smith is someone that I am hesitant to take in tournaments. I don't like that he's popping so high in this model. I do like Carson Palmer quite a bit this week against Carolina. I think he has a lot of upside. Him and John Brown make a lot of sense. Adam Levitan talked about that on the podcast, the Fantasy Labs pod, and I think it certainly is a viable option. Russell Wilson in the course field of DFS in New Orleans, think he could make sense. I wish Wilson was showing that upside that we saw the last couple of years with his legs. I mean, you can look at the rush attempts. They just aren't what they used to be in the past. He used to have big rushing games looking back to last year, and he's just not doing it this year because he's injured. He has a bad knee, a variety of different things going on with his legs, so he's having to throw more, but quarterbacks who want to get going in New Orleans is definitely a great spot. So I do think Russell Wilson at some point this year will turn the corner. Still expensive against New Orleans. His price came up because of that matchup, but I do think he's interesting. Drew Dinkmeyer, one of my good friends and just a great guy across the industry, came on the Fantasy Labs podcast last night, and he had a lot of love for Brock Osweiler. I actually am going to buy it too. He's terrible. Listen, I played Jalen Strong a couple weeks ago, and it was the most tilting thing against the Colts. Osweiler was just absolutely awful. But I do think that there's potentially some upside here with Osweiler in this specific spot. I mean, you're talking about Detroit, who's just giving up passing yards in heaps, and a game that could have a lot of nice pace. I think that this is a spot where you can get him at really low ownership, and you could pair him potentially with Hopkins and or Fuller. You look at his game log, he's been horrendous against the Broncos in Denver, against the Vikings in Minnesota, in New England, and then he's been decent outside of that. I mean, if you look at his games outside of that, he's putting up, middle tier, slightly below average fantasy games. It's the matchups in New England, in Minnesota, and Denver where he's just atrocious, and those are tough matchups. So I think he is hashtag pretty bad, but if you're going to take a risk on someone who might be, 1% owned, and we have him projected 0 to 1, this could be the week, and Drew Dinkmeyer made that call, and I think it's pretty sharp. Aaron Rodgers this week, I normally like to play him at home. We'll see. Levitan had the hot take. I think that Aaron Rodgers it was Drew also who had the take that Rodgers is washed up. We'll see. We'll see what the running back situation looks like. Definitely follow the Green Bay situation, because if they're going to have to do those mini throws to establish the run, that's going to be good for Aaron Rodgers. If we look at his game log, specifically last week, he did get over 300 yards and the 3 touchdowns for a big game against the Bears, which was nice. And he had a ton of attempts, 56 attempts, and that's because they didn't really have a running back. So we'll see what happens with Niall Davis and what they do there, but I do think Aaron Rodgers is intriguing. I talked about Derek Carr in the pod. I like him to Amari Cooper. I think Andy Dalton to A.J. Green is going to be another stack that could be intriguing. We'll see the status of Norman as well. Trevor Siemian, basically mid-price. If you're biased like me and love the Broncos, it's not the worst. Probably won't play Dak or Carson Wentz in this game. I respect Philly's defense a ton, and I still think Dallas will be able to control the ball with some running. So not loving the game for fantasy goodness there. Drew Brees, I think, is very intriguing at home. I mean, this is one of the quarterbacks, one of the biggest home road splits, has just absolutely gone off. I think he's averaging a little over 400 yards per game at home. Just ridiculous, the numbers he's putting up. But now going against Seattle, one of the best defenses in the league, it's tough to figure out how it's going to go down, but certainly upside, and Drew Brees is definitely a tournament option for me. Again, looking at this column here, you can see that he has a really big ceiling projection. Yeah, kind of scrolling through, you see some names here. Screw you, Blake Bortles, not interested. Sam Bradford, min price, I talked about him. Initially, I was intrigued, but he just doesn't have any ceiling. Andrew Luck, obviously, any week he's playing, you got to consider him. I think that he's should be rated higher in this model. Definitely a guy that I like having exposure to. He was only 1 to 2% owned in most tournaments last week, and he was the key to winning tournaments. Yeah, kind of looking through the rest of this. I mean, Tom Brady's interesting, but that price tag, I think you'll go elsewhere. I do think he's in consideration for tournaments. Fitzpatrick against Cleveland. This could be a spot. I just hate taking Ryan Fitzpatrick because he's been so bad, but against Cleveland, again, one of the best spots you could have in terms of matchup. It is on the road, though. More likely to probably take Brandon Marshall than Fitzpatrick this week when I'm looking for exposure there. And then Cam Newton, really low in this model, the second lowest rated quarterback. I agree with Rivers being the lowest rated against Denver in Denver, but I actually like Cam Newton a lot as a tournament play. Arizona's defense is good, but Cam Newton has as much upside as any quarterback, and I think he's a really good option. So hope this was helpful for you guys. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff going on this week. Make sure to follow all the news. You can do that by following the Twitter account at FantasyLabs NFL. We're updating everything that's relevant to DFS there. And, of course, if you have any feedback, definitely hit me up on Twitter. I'm at CSURAM88. And, of course, looking to see more Fantasy Labs subscribers at the top of the leaderboard.